we will let us continue with our study of heresy and the heretic. And if you haven't been here in a couple weeks, it's okay. You know, things a bit stand on their own, but I'll kind of review as we go along.
Yeah.
But we're at Chagiga 15b. We're at paragraph 10, which I think I looked before on like page 12.
Page 12, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, paragraph 10. So, if you remember, Elisha ben Abuya, who we've been calling Acher, which means like the other one, has died. We've had our discussion about judgment in afterlife. And then we had our discussion about can you learn Torah from someone who is a sinner in some way, even a heretic. We kind of said that Rabbi Meir, because one, he's an adult, and because he's Rabbi Meir, is able to do it, but are other people able to learn from is the vessel teaching important, or is it just the words of Torah that's important, right? That's the question too. You with me? Okay. All right. Like, does a teacher of moral philosophy have to be a moral person?
Could you love the artist?
Right. And then we brought up also, like, can you watch Woody Allen movie anymore? Right?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
Can't watch Blazing Saddles.
But no, Blazing Saddles though, like you know, we've never heard anything bad about Mel Brooks, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but today's world can't handle it.
Yeah, sure.
So
All right. So we're at paragraph 10. Anybody want to pick up? Sure.
I'll go.
Okay.
When Rav Dimi came from Eretz Israel to Babylonia, he said, in the West, Eretz Israel, they say, Rabbi Meir ate a half-ripe date and threw the peel away. In other words, he was able to extract the important content from the inedible shell. Rava taught, what is the meaning of that which is written? I went down into the garden of nuts to look at the green plants of the valley. Why are Torah scholars compared to nuts? To tell you, just as this nut, despite being soiled with mud and excrement, its content is not made repulsive, as only its shell is soiled. So too a Torah scholar, although he has sinned, his Torah is not made repulsive.
Right. So what's the image? You have to crack through the bad things to get to the good inside, right?
Dumpster diving.
Maybe, yeah. Okay. So what is it saying about Rabbi Meir?
He was able to crack open the nut and get the sweet part, even though the outside was contaminated.
So even though Acher, the heretic, Rabbi Meir was still able to learn Torah from him. So what's it saying about Acher?
That he's a nut.
Well, okay, I don't know if they use not meaning crazy like we do in English, but
He thinks like he's a good person.
well, but is it saying maybe it's saying good person or
He has good
He has-
ideas.
he's
yeah,
knowledge,
I
he
don't
has
know,
knowledge,
but
yeah, he
I
has
think it might be both.
Yeah.
I'm
right.
not sure.
He has
Right, but there's Torah in there somewhere. Yeah.
Well, maybe it's also saying that we shouldn't judge things
Right.
from, you know,
books from the
cover
cover outside.
by cover.
Yeah, but you still have to break it open and throw away all the excrement, as it says here. So aren't you judging?
we're eating.
You find something on the ground, you have to judge. Can I eat it or can I not? I have to do some work to be able to eat it. That's still judgment. Right?
But maybe it's don't be so quick to judge.
Don't be so quick, or you got to do a little work. You get work. Judgment is the work that then gets into the truth.
Well, when they find diamond, it doesn't look like a diamond. It's like.
The diamond doesn't look like a diamond, but you got to do a lot of work to make it. Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
Suggest, at least in my mind, there's a difference between assessing and judgment.
Mm.
So you can assess the differences without being judgmental.
Judgmental, right? Okay, so how we say in English, like you judgmental, we have a negative valence on it, and assessing, yeah, maybe a little more positive. Yeah.
Well, sort of, it's not, it's not the messenger, it's the message,
Right, but you got to find the message, and not everybody can do that. Not everybody has the tools to. Not everybody has a nutcracker.
Right.
to see below the surface.
Yeah.
You can just use a hammer.
You can
That's
just
what we.
not everybody has it. Right? Yeah.
I have a hammer.
Yeah. Okay.
Could you
But,
just-
but it's,
you're-
but I think they're saying Rav Dimi, who seems to be a rabbi who would travel between the land of Israel and Babylonia. So he's like passing these stories along about the people in the land of Israel, right? So he's saying Rabbi Meir was able to do this, right? Yeah. Had a hammer with him all the time. Yeah.
Is there an element of, the idea that there's beauty in everybody? You just have to look for it.
You have to, or there's,
That's.
I don't know.
Very great thing about the soul.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's saying that at all.
I'm just,
I don't know if it's about the soul. I think it's saying the
maybe
Torah.
not, yeah.
He's still able to teach something about the Torah.
So that's value, there's value maybe.
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe it's less about whether someone has a hammer or not, so to speak, but. If you're judgmental, you're not gonna bother trying to figure it out, whereas if you're looking to just kind of see what it is,
Yeah.
assess it.
It's a little bit of problem solving.
You can have a
Yeah,
rock, you can
yeah.
throw it against the wall, but you wouldn't know to do that.
Yeah. Good.
The Torah, like knowledge of a Torah scholar is so pure that it doesn't get tainted.
Yes,
by-
yes, yeah, exactly. So good. So there is pure Torah somewhere in there. Yeah. And it's not about it's not about the teacher, it's about the Torah itself.
It's a idea of Torah.
Yeah.
It's almost like a Platonic form of Torah.
Yeah. There's there is some, the heavenly Torah, the rabbi would say.
Yeah.
Torah, Bishmayim, the heavenly Torah, yeah. Good. Let us,
Because the Greeks were around.
okay. So now let's bring in Elijah the prophet and see what he says, right? So in rabbinic tale, we've had rabbinic tales where Elijah shows up, right? Elijah often acts in rabbinic tales as like telling you what God is thinking, right? Sometimes, okay?
Want me to keep going?
Yeah, please.
The Gemara relates, Rabbah bar Sheila found Elijah the prophet, who had appeared to him. He said to Elijah, "What is the Holy One, blessed be he, doing?" Elijah said to him, "He is stating halakot, transmitting by all of the sages, but in the name of Rabbi Meir, he will not speak."
Stop. So what is God doing? God's studying Torah right now, but he's not studying the Torah of who?
Rabbi Meir.
Rabbi Meir.
No, not in
Even though we learned that Rabbi Meir is able to learn Torah from the right, God doesn't want to
And God will do what Rabbi Meir wants him to do in terms of the burning of the.
right of the grave and things like that. Yeah, but he's not. I mean, this story may stand alone from that, but okay. But he's not. He's not teaching. God is not teaching the Torah of Rabbi Meir.
He said to him, "Why?" He replied, "Because he learned halakot from the mouth of a hare."
Right? Because he learned halachot, their laws, right? Torah laws. God won't repeat Rabbi Meir's Torah because he learned it from a hare.
He said to him, "Why should he be judged unfavorably for that?" Rabbi Meir found a pomegranate and ate its contents while throwing away its peel. He said to him, "Indeed, your defense has been heard above. Now God is saying, my son Meir says, when a person suffers, e.g. by receiving lashes or the death penalty at the hands of the court, how does the divine presence express itself? Woe is me from my head, woe is me from my arm," as God emphasizes with the sufferer. If the Holy One, blessed be he, suffers to such an extent over the blood of the wicked, how much more so does he suffer over the blood of the righteous that is spilled?
Okay, what is this? So Rabba bar Shela seems to have convinced God to teach Rabbi Meir's teachings, right? What's the metaphor he uses? Not a nut, but a
Pomegranate.
pomegranate. You know, like a nut, you can't, a pomegranate, you can't eat the skin, right? Okay, so Rabbi Meir is able, and pomegranate is a symbol for it. You know, you might have learned in Hebrew school. The pomegranate has 613 seeds, just like the Torah has 613 mitzvot. That comes from the Talmud, right? So the pomegranate is a symbol for Torah.
Knowledge.
Torah. Right. Knowledge means Torah. Torah means knowledge, right? Okay. And so it seems like we've convinced God now to teach a teaching of Rabbi Meir. So what does God teach? So Rabbi Meir has a a teaching about how God feels when an individual suffers. And how does God feel when an individual suffers? God suffers. And so and God is suffering over who? The wicked. Yeah. So then God then now feels sympathy for Rabbi Meir, who was the student of Acher. I think that's what it's kind of saying. You get it?
Yeah, because it says at the end, if he suffers over the blood of the wicked, right, the person who's gotten this penalty, death penalty or lashes, how much is suffer this of the blood of the righteous? And so it sort of suggests that Acher is righteous.
Yeah.
And God is suffering because of
Yeah.
his apostasy.
Yeah, right.
Why would he suffer over the wicked?
Why does God suffer over the wicked? Well, it says specifically in Deuteronomy, I think, that if you give someone the death penalty by impaling, which is one of the death penalties, you cannot leave the person hanging overnight. It's an affront to God. Right? Why? And then what makes us think, why is it an affront to God?
Because God's suffering too.
God's suffering too because we are God's image, even the wicked person. And so God cares about everybody. Even though, so what the rabbis are saying, kind of like, even though there are punishments and death penalties and things like that in the Torah, God don't like it so much. Because even the wicked person, that's why I don't like, I try not to say this person is a monster, this person is inhuman, not a human or something like that. No. The wicked person is just as human as you are. You are capable of doing all the things that they do, right? And God doesn't, and God suffers when all of that happens, right?
Yeah, but it's not, but he's still God saying, still might be necessary.
Yeah, good. So we get into a whole other discussion. What is punishment about? Maybe it's not punishment. Well, it's not. It's not. It's not. It's
Social cohesion.
yeah, or even
Society.
or public safety or something like that. Something like that. Yeah. It's not about taking away that person. It's not that person's humanness, right? Humanity.
Is that God's way of forgiving the wicked?
I don't know if it's about forgiving either. It's like someone is in pain that hurts God. Doesn't matter who it is.
Rabbi, is here really wicked here? Maybe I missed this last week, but to me, he's not. I think it's a softer stance on him.
On Acher than
Yeah.
wicked, not a heretic. It's softer than being a heretic.
Well, a heretic is softer than being wicked.
Maybe. I don't. Well, I think that's just her modern way. I think the heretic is wicked.
Yeah, how do you disambiguate those two?
You as a Jew have certain obligations, and when you don't, for the rabbis, when you don't do those obligations or publicly flaunt those obligations, you're wicked. Not just because you're breaking God's law, but you're leading others. Right, that's the thing. Him writing his horse on Shabbat. The example we had now like 2-3 weeks ago. He riding his horse on Shabbat is encouraging others to break the law. Right. Which is the worst. Right?
Not to mention what you're doing to the horse.
Maybe, yeah, the horse is supposed to rest on Shabbat too. And it says specifically in the 10th commandment, your animals rest on Shabbat. The only animal that you can do some work with on Shabbat is a milk cow, and this is in modern halakha, because if you don't milk them on Shabbat, it's painful to them. If the cow milks every day, right? So that's the only animal that could work in Shabbat.
Can we talk about the fact that God's, talking about halakot? I mean, like this is sort of this is a very modern Orthodox conception of God, right? Studying,
So what?
Why so focus on halakot of like all the things that involve the world, right?
Right. Why does God? Well, I think it's that if the rabbis can imagine perfection, it's God teaching Torah, and the world to come is you're learning Torah right from God, or at least from Moses, right? So I think they're just giving like an image. I mean, do they literally believe that God teaches Torah? I don't know, but like they're giving an image of this is perfection, right? If perfection is rock and roll heaven is sitting at the foot of Jimi Hendrix in heaven. Here's what
But as important to study Judaism as important to study Torah is like I think as Reformed Jews we have a much broader conception of
for sure. But you have to think of like okay. They could say other places that God is like, you know, like in the Psalms is like making the nature happen and things like that. Yeah, but you know, they get each story doesn't have to be have. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to read the story literally, and you see what are they trying to say is that even God is persuaded by this argument that Rabbi Meir is could still learn Torah from Acher, and that even the wicked person Acher moves God in pain, right? Yeah, listen.
Is the idea of wickedness, when you talk about it, really that dichotomous? Like you don't follow, you know, all the commandments, so then you're wicked? Like is it like a black, white kind of thing? Because that's when you talk about it, it sounds like that.
Right, so but we're complicating it though.
It's so.
Yeah, because like
Was
God
that,
is
yes, was that really the basic,
well, like
the foundation is like it's a black, white thing?
no, but yes and no, because we're complicating it because even God's moved by the suffering of the wicked. We can still learn Torah from the wicked, and some or certain people can learn Torah from the wicked. So what is wickedness, right? And so you know, but like, you know, so again, like what keeps you to use more metaphor, what keeps you out of heaven, right? Right, that's what we were talking about last week, right? And so but publicly leading others to sin, that's a huge thing, right? That's bad, right? But what are some of the worst things we could think of that people can do? Murder, yes. And for you know, for the rabbis, murder, idolatry, and incest. Those are like the worst things. Has Acher done those?
No.
No. But what has he done? Well, I don't know. We still don't quite know.
Sabbath.
But he's
It's like
ridden his horse on Shabbat publicly, which could lead others to breaking Shabbat. That's bad.
He wanted to kill the kid.
He wanted to kill that one kid, right? Okay, but we've all wanted to kill our own kids.
You know, to me, it's you were gonna. To me, the whole book, even in this context, is not a set copious of rules. The rabbis are debating exactly what it is, on and on and on.
Yeah.
To me, one of the things, I don't know what you think about this, it's a certain attitude towards it.
Yeah,
That would
right.
be the sin.
Good.
You're-
Yeah. So good. So what is sin? Sin for an individual is either you do something you're not supposed to do, or you don't do something you're supposed to do. Sin. We all sin, built into the system. You make teshuvah, you make repentance, you get back on the right path. Everybody sins. That's just right. But what is too far? That's what we're debating too. Right? Because we've read stories now of rabbis going to prostitutes and rabbis being mean to people and rabbis, you know, things like that. And yet you're still learning Torah from them. What was too far for Acher that we're debating? Should you even learn from him? Right? We're saying Rabbi Meir was able to learn from him, but maybe he's some kind of exceptional person.
So wait a minute, just to go back a minute. There are four that enter paradise.
Right. Now we're going back weeks ago. Yes.
One dies.
Yeah.
One
One
comes
goes-
out okay.
One goes crazy,
One goes crazy,
and one becomes a heretic.
and one becomes a heretic. So there's something very special about these four individuals.
Yes.
And it's not so much that he becomes a heretic. If you go back, it says he chopped down
The shoots.
of the saplings.
Right, which
So this
might mean
is-
he's leading others to heresy too. Yeah.
This is his sin.
Yeah.
And we don't know for sure what that is,
Right. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see more in a second.
but we do know that
Yeah.
he was precious before God because he was one of the
Yeah,
four.
maybe. He
Yeah,
had the
he had
ability.
it.
Yeah, he had the ability. He was, let's say it this way. He was one of the we had 4 shining students.
Right.
Yeah. But we'll paint that picture. And only one of them is still the, you know,
One
Rabbi
comes in
Kinney.
okay.
Yeah. Not even okay is the shining light of his generation. Yeah.
This man had the ability to
Yeah.
get there.
Yeah.
But instead chose a different path,
Yeah.
his sin, he
Yeah.
chopped down the saplings or whatever he did. And so everything that he touches is more so.
Everything he touches is it tainted or is it not? And that's what we're trying to, yeah.
It's tainted. It's that because of who he is, he's one of the special.
Yeah.
It becomes more
Yeah,
emphasized.
is it because of his past that he knew Torah? Can we still learn Torah from him too? He was a special student.
Yeah, by the way, can we at some point like address like he was the shining light of his generation, but he thought Bar Kokhba was the
Yeah.
Messiah,
Yeah. So we all mess up. We all mess up. Yeah. we'll get to Akiva soon in public.
Evil come in.
Where, I don't know, that's what we're trying to figure out, we're trying to figure out.
Well, the wicked, I see the evil
Yeah.
as it
So,
well beyond. the
Is
wicked.
evil even a good category to talk about? Because is anybody evil, or do we just do evil things sometimes? Can you definitionally be evil?
Yeah.
That's the question we're talking about.
Evil is in the devil.
I think his evil is that he doubted God.
Right. Well, that we
That's-
learned from one of the stories that he thought there were two powers in heaven, things like that. That then he thought that the Torah is not given from God in some way, that because he could flout the laws, right? But is there some kind of essential evil that some people have, or is it just things we do that are bad,
No, that's the
Right.
first one.
right? Yeah, and I think sometimes in American culture, we think that there's something called evil, maybe we're influenced by certain strands of Protestantism, maybe we think there's something called evil that's inherent in certain people, and therefore we get to unleash our wrath on them, right? Or is it, I'm putting up two dichotomies. Sometimes people make bad choices and do evil things.
One
Are
or
they
two,
then redeemable? We also in American culture love redemption stories, right? Are people redeemable? I think, often Judaism will say, yes, we all mess up, we can make teshuva. Right?
Yeah.
Yes, Jeff.
This is like a total side note to all of this, but it seems like God is very persuadable.
Yes, good.
God can
Yeah.
like change
Yeah.
God's mind all the time.
Yep.
And it's like as a being that is supposedly all powerful and telling everybody what
That-
to do, and these are the
They
laws
don't
and this is
talk
what you
about all
do.
powerful. No, God's in relationship with humans, and therefore God can, through relationship, be able to change. Yeah. 100% in the Bible and in the rabbis.
Well, why does God let?
Medieval Jewish philosophers, medieval Islamic philosophers, even medieval Christian philosophers, which it never makes sense through Christianity, but anyway, that God doesn't change, right? God is perfect. But here, I mean, did some of them believe that? Who knows? But they're not telling the stories that way. They're telling the stories that God's in relationship with us. And and that, like, actually I was listening to a Devar Torah yesterday on a podcast about even this week's Torah portion, that Isaac is in, like, Isaac is known in Jewish tradition as one who has like a deep spirit, we could say deep spirituality through prayer, and he's able to like talk to God for God to bring fertility to
But God's persuadable throughout the Torah.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
Adam,
Yeah, I mean-
Abraham with Sodom and Gomorrah.
No,
right?
yeah. God is well. God says no, but it wants to be persuaded, right?
Yeah.
God in the Torah and in the rabbis is a being that you can relate to. I mean, that you can have a relationship with. Influence, because God is bound by Torah too.
I'm confused. How do you separate evil from the person or the entity that creates the evil? I don't see that evil stands alone.
Right? God created a world that allowed people to do bad things.
But is this table can't be evil?
Correct. Yeah.
So it has to be a living thing.
Evilness is a living thing. Or I'm trying to argue, or I think we're playing with here is like, is there something called evilness, or is it people making bad decisions that have consequences that do bad things, right?
The
argue-
other thing that may be off
Yeah.
message, and if it is, we'll just leave it by the side, is I'm not sure why God should be so focused on the Torah in terms of being the ultimate thing. I would say, if I were choosing an ultimate thing, maybe it's something that was created by God, like the splendor of the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, but I mean, God created in the rabbinic mind, God created the Torah too as the way of wisdom in the world, right? And God created the world through Torah for the rabbis. Meaning, more like the Platonic forms or whatever, right?
This started to sound a little bit like the Gospel of John, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, God created the world through Torah. Right. And so Torah is more, when I say Torah, it's more than just the words in the scroll and the ark.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's
And so
conduit through which everything else flows.
Yes, yes.
Good.
And therefore it's the job of the Jew. I don't know what they would say about other people, you'll get different opinions with the rabbis about other people, but let's just say it's the job of the Jew is to discern what the Torah is and therefore how to live. It's kind of a natural, in some ways, it's kind of natural law, like Catholics would say, natural law, right?
What's the prayer for, the Torah leads is above them all or leads to them all?
Right.
We say every Saturday morning. What's the name of the
Right.
prayer?
Obligations.
Right. So it's a passage from the Talmud that you say all these good things you do in the world, but the study of Torah, Keneged Kulam. It actually means the study of Torah is above them all.
Everybody.
Yeah.
So I think a hair,
Wait, so can you?
No, I just, so many things, but, I just want to comment on, you were saying, for me, I think there's a difference between heresy and evil.
Okay.
One, I think it has to do with intention, but.
Right.
maybe-
They don't. I mean,
But
yeah. So
to me, to have evil, you have to assume that there's some kind of agency on the part of individuals, getting back to your point.
right. Yeah.
If
Yeah.
there's no agency,
Right.
then there's no evil per se.
Right. Yeah. Right. So I
So-
think we're talking about agency here.
Yeah.
That Elisha ben Abuya, the Acher, could have done otherwise.
He could have done otherwise, but in the same sense, if he didn't do otherwise.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be having this discussion.
Right. We're still learning Torah from him, aren't we?
And
Yeah.
this, and it's kind of
That's
creates this dialectic
Mhm.
that pushes the understanding of Torah, or
Yeah.
if you want to say world knowledge
Yeah.
forward.
100%. Good.
Rabbi, how
Elise.
does God let evil flourish and not intercede to stop it?
Right. So why didn't God just stop Elisha? Why didn't God kill Elisha ben Abuya? Right. Well, I mean, I think, that's part of this discussion we're having. Is God, it seems that God allows humans to make bad choices.
I think to follow up what Kenny is saying,
Yeah.
I don't think a hair
Yeah.
is necessarily evil.
Right.
His sin is that he doubted and that he questioned.
Right.
And he said, is there two gods? Is there, what makes this the one?
Yeah.
And that was his sin. I don't know if that's evil as much as it is agnostic. I mean.
I don't know. We'll keep reading. We'll see more about him, but I want to pull up.
Agency,
I'm going to pull it up now, and I didn't print it out for you, and I'm sorry the screen over here is not working, but I'll have to read it out. What is some of the worst things for the rabbis?
Adultery.
Well, okay, murder, adultery, and incest, and idolatry. Okay, but here I'm gonna read it out for you. There's a famous statement in the Mishnah. Next week or in 2 weeks, I'll print it out for everybody. Famous statement in the Mishnah that Rabbi Meir presumably would have known this statement. Okay, all Israel, means all the Jews, have a portion in the world to come. Right, so even if you're bad, you're still okay. And then there's different statements too that all righteous people have this place in the world to come, not just Jews, right? Or it says, okay, so I'll read the verse. And these are the ones who have no portion in the world to come, then it says. Okay, so this is heresy. Here are the heresies. Right.
This is what.
So I'm jumping the gun a little bit, but I'll read it now because we keep identifying. Here are the heresies according to the rabbis. Not the sins of like doing bad things, because adultery you could repent of, right? And or murder you can't really repent, but like you can repent to God, right? But like idolatry you could repent of, right? Those are the I'll say the sins that if someone holds a gun to your head and says you have to do this or I'm going to kill you, you have to let them kill you. And that if someone says to you, if you don't murder this person, I will kill you, you have to let that person kill you. If you don't have incest or adultery, I will kill you, you have to let them kill you, or idolatry, you have to let them kill you. Everything else you can do to get out of a sticky situation.
What was that first one?
Murder.
Write it down just in case, right?
But those are the three cardinal sins, but here are the heresies, which are more of like believing things.
There we go.
Right?
That's right.
Heresies are more about believing things. So these are the things that keep you out of the world to come. He who maintains that resurrection is not a biblical doctrine, that the Torah was not divinely revealed, and an Epicurus, an Epicurean, which was a Greek philosophy, but basically an Epicurean, I think what they're saying is that is no gods. Or even if there is gods, they don't care anything about us anyways. That's what the Epicureans believe, right?
I'm in trouble.
But yeah, I was gonna say the first two of those are pretty common beliefs in Reformed Judaism, at least in the past, if not.
There you go. That's why we're here.
The second one is like,
The Torah is not divinely revealed. Whatever that means, then that can mean something very different throughout
Right,
Jewish
yeah.
history. And then you can't be being called an Epicurean for the rabbis is shorthand for being called a heretic. Okay,
So how do they feel about humanistic Judaism?
they're sinners. You can repent, you can turn back, but like, yeah, that's why it gets me crazy, right? We talked last week, boundaries within a Jewish community. Who's in and who's out? People are totally in if you don't follow any Jewish laws, but as long as you're loyal to the Jewish people, you're totally in, right? Or as long as you're have a certain beliefs about the state of Israel, you're totally in. But if you don't, then you're out. We have new heresies today,
This
right?
is a really odd list because
Yeah.
regardless of what one thinks about the doctrine of resurrection, it's weakly attested in the Torah itself.
Yeah, yeah.
If at all, right? Like
Okay.
it's a weird that they picked that one
You're
out.
reading it incorrectly. That's why. That's what they would say. But
Okay, fair enough.
yeah. And then Rabbi Akiva says Abba Shaul, let's say, says one who says the name of God, tries to pronounce the name of God, Yud He Vav He, as it's spelled, that person's a heretic. Akiva says if you read non-canonical books, right? Yeah. But anyways, so what did Acher do? Maybe he's denying that the Torah is revealed because he's breaking it, thinking that you won't have any consequences. They don't talk about resurrection of the dead, but who knows? But and then
He's an Epicurean, right?
then maybe he's an Epicurean, right?
And where do those people go?
They just disappear. No share in the world to come.
In the
Remember, we learned the story of Acher when he died. They couldn't decide what to do with him. Should he go to Gehenna to get ready for resurrection, or should he not? Right? Yeah.
just about as a driven leaf, this book that Hayer's big sin was learning Greek philosophy.
Okay, so let's keep going. Well, we'll get there eventually. Okay. All right.
Megalomania in there?
Megalomania. You can repair your ways from that. But again, these are kind of thought crimes, if you will. These are thought sins, not things that you do or don't do. Right?
That's why I think intention is important. Like if you're willing to play in
the system.
And you have a connection to the system.
Yeah.
Then
Acher took himself out of the system.
And he didn't teach it though. He didn't teach his agnostic.
He didn't teach me. Remember, right? He didn't teach Meir to be like him. He said, Meir, you got to stop now because the Shabbat boundary is coming up. You can't walk that far. He was still teaching him halakha.
To himself.
Right? Yeah, kept it to himself. He didn't then say, "I need to be the teacher in the Beit Midrash." Right? So he's leading others. He might be leading others to sin because of his public displays of sin, but he's not leading others to sin through his teaching.
Therefore, he still has some connection
Maybe.
to
Maybe.
it. He's conflicted, I think.
Maybe.
But if he's the teacher, how does the student know whether he's?
Only Meir is smart enough to know. Maybe that's what we're saying. And that's why he's dangerous also, because if others learn from him, they don't have the discernment that Meir has.
Was Mayor the only one?
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe. That's why God was waffling too, right? Yeah.
Can you go back to the thought sins? I was always taught that actions are more important than thoughts. I mean, I remember Jimmy Carter's Playboy.
Oh, yeah.
I loved it in my heart. And my mom was like, so what?
Yeah.
You know?
But it's not. It is also true that that Judaism cares about what you think. You shall love your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul. And then it lists things you do, but it seems like there's some kind of interiority, there, right? Yeah,
You shall love the Lord your God, no other
Yeah.
God. For me, I don't think idolatry is merely but like buying
Yeah,
down to an out, like it's your actual belief. in
yeah,
God,
authentic
right?
beliefs, yeah, right. You can't believe in many gods, but do the mitzvot.
Right.
Yeah, and if you hate others in your heart, but like do nice things, are you still a good person? Like, kind of, but not kind of, right? So it's still, it's, yeah.
It's better than
Lust in your heart. Yeah, we all lust in our heart. Do not covet is the 10th commandment, right? And the rabbis say coveting actually means stealing. That the first one, the one that says don't steal, is about they make it more specific about stealing certain things, and covet is about stealing all these other things. But it starts with feeling. Yeah. So it's not true. Like, again, like I've said this, that like we, 20th century, now 21st century American Jews wanted to like totally divorce ourselves from what we thought was Christian, even though like they got it from us. Yeah, in your heart is part of it too. Yeah, but yes, ultimately, what your outward actions are the only ways that people can know what's in your heart.
That's right.
Right? You can never totally know what another person feels. Right?
But you said when you were just explaining this, that the Jews who do certain sins can't go to the world's come,
Yeah.
but all the righteous people who aren't Jews
Yeah,
can.
yeah. They have
So
different standards.
If a hair is now other,
Then you be a non-Jew.
right, and then he's still righteous,
Can
he?
can a Jew become a non-Jew?
And you unjew yourself.
Can you undo yourself? No.
Depends on who you are.
No.
Depends on who you
Yeah,
are.
now, right, but no, you can't. In Jewish law, you are a Jew, you are born a Jew, or if you convert to be a Jew, you're stuck. You're stuck. You have the 613. The rest of the world has 7. You have 613, and that's it. You're stuck. You can be a sinning Jew, but you can never be a non-Jew. Right? Only modern America is the only time in the world where Jews can be a non-Jew, because the other people don't care so much. Like I've said, if I can move to Iowa tomorrow where I don't know anybody, I guess now you can find Rabbi Michael Satz on Google, but let's say 20 years ago, I could move to Iowa and nobody would know me, and I could say I'm a non-Jew, and therefore I'm a non-Jew.
There's a strain of it.
Right? Because you couldn't do that in Europe. Right? It said on your ID card you were a Jew. Right?
That's a form of anti-Semitism, with Jews being doppelgangers or what have you. You're a Jew, they don't know you're a Jew, but with us, it's like
yeah, right. Yeah. So but yes, in Jewish law you cannot unjew yourself. Even if you're excommunicated, you're still a Jew, but you cross the line within your community, and the other Jews don't have to
Sometimes, like with Spinoza, we even claim our excommunicants.
Right. Spinoza liked being excommunicated, but most people would not like that, right? Yeah. But the rabbis still considered him a Jew. Right? Yeah.
Rabbi, if you de-Judified yourself and went to Iowa or whatever,
Yeah.
and then had kids and grandkids,
Yeah.
what was Jewish law say about that?
Jewish law would say they're still Jews. Well, I mean, as long as I had traditional Jewish law, as long as I had kids and grandkids with a Jewish woman, then they would say they're Jews. Yeah. Listen.
It's difficult, troublesome, something like that. When you think in terms of the heretic, it's how you think or how you feel about things, because we don't have control over our thoughts and feelings.
Right.
We can influence them, but we can't control them. So.
Yeah, but control, you can control, or within the community you live, you can control you can control the things you read, and therefore, right. So Rabbi Akiva, I read there that he doesn't want you reading non-canonical books because that could give you heretical ideas, right? So
it gets back to how much agency people really have.
Yeah.
Tend to
Right.
agree that
We have agency to be in relation with God. That's the rabbis will say that right away. That you have agency to be in relationship with God, and when you're in relationship with God, as a Jew, you have the mitzvot to follow.
I don't understand the non-canonical books. I mean, literature is everywhere, obviously. The people knew about the Maccabees, the book of Maccabees now is not canonical for us.
Right. Yeah.
So what
there was a banned book list. I don't know.
Okay. It's to me, it's a way to try and keep the community together.
Yeah.
And if you let other ideas in.
Yeah.
That might increase knowledge overall, but
Yeah.
it has a
Yeah.
serious
Right,
effect on.
so if we get there, we'll talk about, we'll talk about reading Greek things, so. The last text I read, in the Mishnah, in Masechet Sanhedrin, chapter 10. And then Maimonides writes a lot about that, it's like a famous work.
But Akiva's view was a little extreme. So the
Yeah,
other
he was
rabbis were
extreme.
like, it's
Yeah.
fine to read Homer or whatever.
Yeah,
Right? Like
Akiva was extreme, Akiva was extreme.
Fuck John being gone.
Yeah, right, so let's keep going. Paragraph 12.
I'll go.
The Gemara relates,
Shmuel, yeah, he was a Babylonian sage, yeah.
They found Rav Yehuda leaning on the bar of the door, crying. He said to him, long toothed one, Shanana,
Yeah.
what are you crying for? He said to him, it's a small matter, right?
Mhm.
It's a small matter, that which is written with regard to sages who have sinned. Where is he who counted? Where is he who weighed? Where is he who counted the towers? He proceeded to explain, where is he who counted? For they would all count, they would count all the letters of the Torah. Where is he who weighed? For they would weigh and compare the minor and major transgressions of the Torah. Where is he who counted the towers? For they would teach 300 halachot,
right, wow.
concerning the details of tent impurity involving a wooden closet floating in the air. If they studied the subject so removed from reality in such depths, how much more did they analyze other issues?
Right, so like rabbis are able to know abstract laws that have nothing to do with life, right? Okay, but what's he saying?
He's saying, what's going on with all the people who are so deep in the details that they forget the value that they're looking at?
That even we rabbis who are able to like know so much minute details about the Torah can still sin, right? And that's why it's making him cry, right?
What's the difference between a major and a minor
I think that
transgression?
was beautiful.
Like Shabbat is a major transgression and a minor transgression is like
You wore linen and wool at the same day.
right, something like that. Yeah.
This is, that's something very important to me. Is there some kind of commentary or list or ranking of these transgressions?
What's a major versus a minor?
Well, there's.
I guess it depends on the punishment, maybe. I'm
Is
not
the
sure.
Likert scale?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Major, minor, I guess they use that term. I don't know enough about it. But they use that term weighty and light, and I guess it based on punishment.
This is a big argument I had with
Yeah.
Christians in my high school.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah.
So.
Well, so baseball, you get the statisticians, they know every pitch that's ever pitched, but they don't necessarily watch the game.
Yeah, that could be it too, right? Yeah,
Say it again?
That's happened. That's what's happened in sports today. Yeah.
Oh,
Right. So, but he's crying because like here we are rabbis who know the Torah so well, and yet we're still sinning, right? Okay.
Is it also a shout out that you can get lost in these very ethereal things?
Yeah,
And there's only so much time in the day
Yeah.
to address maybe how
Other things.
more mundane
Yeah, maybe.
topics.
Maybe.
It brings to mind the adage, lose the forest for the trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
Yeah. It could be saying that. Yeah. And that's really like, the Musar movement in the 19th century was like a reaction against the yeshivas, which were getting way up in the weeds of details of laws, but losing the moral core of how to live as a Jew, back to the interiority, right? Something like that. That's what they was, right? Okay. So let's keep going.
Yeah.
Yep.
Rabbi Ami said,
Doeg and
and
Ahitophel. They were two
Ahitophel.
characters in the book of Shemot and Samuel, I think. Yeah.
So the other was
Ahitophel.
Wait, so
anxious or
yeah. Okay, so yes, keep going.
300 questions with regard to a closet floating in the air, as they were both great Torah scholars. And we learned in the Mishnah, 3 kings and 4 commoners have no portion in the world to come. A list that includes Doeg and Ahitophel. If such great sages could sin and forfeit their share in the world to come, we who are less knowledgeable than they, what will be of us? He said to him, long toothed one, there was mud in their hearts, i.e. they had certain flaws that prevented their Torah learning from protecting them.
right?
Native American.
Okay. So, just learning is not what makes you a righteous person, right? There is what you have in your heart too.
Necessary but not sufficient.
Necessary but not sufficient. Thank you. Okay, so now, what was Acher's problem back then?
Okay. Oh,
Okay.
all right.
So let's keep going. Someone want to read here.
The Gemara explains Acher. What was his failing? Greek tunes never ceased from his mouth.
Okay.
He would constantly hum Greek songs, even when he was among the sages. This shows that from the outset he was drawn to Gentile culture and beliefs.
Okay, stop. Greek tunes. I'm guessing it means like he was reciting Homer or something like that. Because Homer was sung in verse or whatever, plays. Yeah, the rabbis are not big on Jews going to the theater, right? Okay. So what's his one sin here? What are they saying? Or based on Steinsaltz's commentary here, that is being too Greek. If there's such thing as Greekness and Jewishness, he's what we like to say today, he's assimilated, right?
Well, they wouldn't have liked the Hasmoneans then.
Right. No, they did not like the Hasmoneans.
But if you think about Greek theater.
Yeah.
I mean, you have Antigone.
Yeah.
You're talking incest. You're talking.
Oh, for sure. Right. But the idea, the gods fighting with each other, all the,
There's
multiple gods. But even though, yes, there were multiple gods, but a lot of the Greek philosophers didn't really believe in multiple gods. They believed in one god, but yes, these stories of multiple gods. Yeah. But it's but it seems to me, it's just now it's Lenny Bruce, Goyish versus Jewish. He's just being Goyish. Sorry to say it like that. He's just being Goyish. Yeah, he's being Goyish.
Similarly, they said about Acher, when he would stand after learning in the study hall, many heretical books which he had been reading would fall from his lap.
Right? Fall from his meaning, he's hype. He's got the heretical book on top of the Talmud.
The comic book.
The yeshiva boys would talk about. I read this once. Zalman Schachter Shlomi was he went from being an ultra orthodox to founding the Renewal movement, which is a liberal Jewish movement. But he said he would read the heretical books in the bathroom, right? One, you're hiding, but two, you can't. It's against halakha to read Torah in the bathroom, right? So he would be reading about Buddhism or whatever in the bathroom, right? Yeah, when he was in yeshiva.
Therefore, he was somewhat unsound even when among the sages.
You have his Marvel comic book.
Yeah, right.
In the scroll.
Yeah.
But I mean, don't we teach in our religion to question things? So how far does you gotta learn about other stuff to help.
All right.
Question.
There are other stories elsewhere in the Torah about who is allowed to learn Greek philosophy, and the rabbis argue, and some say, kind of just these certain people who are kind of the ambassadors to the outside world, they have to know Greek philosophy, they have to know how to read Greek, things like that. But the rest of us, we don't need it because Torah is self-sufficient. Right?
Yeah, but how do you know our way is the right way?
Because God
learn about
told
other
you.
ways.
Well, I'm channeling them, but God told you.
Hey, questioning authority is a very reform
Yeah.
movement
Well,
idea.
but-
In Orthodoxy, you don't question.
Well, that's a very contemporary.
You can
That's
argue,
very
but
contemporary. I'll say this.
But not question, I guess.
Right. We think, argue but don't question, but you have to buy into the system and argue within the system.
That's right.
Right. That's what
I think that's the key.
Yeah. But Maimonides, in the Middle Ages, great sages were reading Greek philosophy. Now, how do they justify it based on stories like this? They would say, well, the Greeks are saying the same thing as what the Torah already says. Right.
So not saying it the way we want it to be said.
Yeah, they're just using a different language, right? And so they're saying it's already within the system. Was that a heretical move? A lot of people thought it was at the time.
That doesn't really work.
So
She
how
has
does,
to have gone outside the system to find it out, and so at that point of stepping over.
So, Rabbi, I think
Maybe.
you try and do the reverse.
What am I trying to do?
Yeah.
I'm trying to read the story
Well,
as it is.
I
Right?
think this enterprise
Yeah.
is we live in a secular Greek
Yes.
confused world.
You are all sorry, I'm gonna insult you. You are all assimilated. You know way more.
We're playing.
You know way more about non-Jewish ways than you know about Jewish texts.
What you're trying to do,
Mhm.
I think,
Yeah.
is show how this really says what we already know.
Yeah.
About world.
Yeah, good, so good, and yes, thank you. And Franz Rosenzweig gave a famous speech. Franz Rosenzweig was a early 20th century Jewish thinker in Germany. He died like in early 40s from ALS. But so he never he you know you might say he was lucky that he didn't then live through the Nazis, but he died very early at ALS. But he came from an assimilated German Jewish family.
Right.
In fact, so much that he thought maybe I should just convert to Christianity. The story he tells is that one day he decided, okay, I'm going to convert to Christianity, but I might as well like do something Jewish. So he walks into a synagogue on Yom Kippur and has this profound experience, and then he devotes the rest of his life to studying Judaism. But he started a learning institute in Frankfurt called the Lehrhaus, the Learning House, which that's just German translation of a Beit Midrash, right? And his job, and he gave the opening speech, which we probably have on the shelf here. It's a very famous speech where he said, our job today as modern Jews is to go from the outside in, take all of the knowledge we have out there and put it back into Jewish knowledge. That's my goal. I'm very much, if I can be so so haughty to say I'm trying to be in the lineage of Franz Rosenzweig. Yeah.
So we talk
Katie,
about.
go
Or
away.
there's a publisher, there's a.
Oh, yeah.
Their
house. Yeah. I mean, it's just a German translation of Beit Midrash, right? Yeah. Or
So-
Yiddish too. Yeah.
Yeah, so we think of Jews as always being supportive of education and learning, and all of that is about.
Torah.
It's
Right. It's so funny. We Jews love
And like-
education. That's why we have so many, great doctors and lawyers in America. No, we love
Right, but
we
all of-
divorced
all the
ourselves from what
scientists
we
can be
thought was
architects.
education and took on a different kind of education. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Right. So as a scientist, right. But you could say, well, Jews weren't allowed to study other stuff. Or do we keep ourselves from studying other stuff? Yeah. Both. And so yes, we Jews found the secret in America of upward mobility through going to public schools and then university and stuff. But it was because we prized what we called education, which was Torah study. But when we came to America, we got rid of that.
Well, we apply it differently.
We got rid of it.
But
That's
the scientific inquiry is that.
I'm being a little, I'm pushing a little bit, but the mid 20th century synagogue Sunday school of Orthodox, Reform, Conservative, doesn't matter, was not Torah learning. Right. It was just a little sprinkling so that you can have enough to know how to celebrate.
Behave.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Most American Jews, even though we have the tools, are the most ignorant of our learning.
It's pretty sad.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not trying. You guys are elite.
Is that what the Orthodox hold against us?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, we make
Since the mid 20th century in America, the modern Orthodox have put all of their resources, not all, so much resources into real learning because we now are rich enough and have the tools to do it, that everybody can. The liberal Jewish community has not taken that up, or we have the resources to do it, but nobody takes us up.
I mean, you're right. I mean, Sunday school, at least growing up, it's just, it was sort of the Jewish version of Christian Sunday school.
Yeah.
It's like Bible stories,
Just enough to call yourself a Jew.
Right.
I'm being edgy here just to push you, but the modern Orthodox world, I'm not talking about the Haredim who don't take part in modern society. I mean, everybody does, but thinks of themselves totally separate. The modern Orthodox world puts resources, but it's very hard. You got to be rich to be in the modern Orthodox world because day school is expensive, right? Going to Israel is expensive.
Kosher food's expensive.
But they're all values. They're and being a doctor or lawyer is also value for them, right? But to say that just education in general is a value, no, Jewish education is a value, right?
Well, I think going to the Orthodox,
yeah.
I think, they value Jewish education to the point that like there's been lawsuits against like schools and universities.
Yeah.
Because they don't even teach the things the state requires
Yeah.
in terms of like math and
But,
science.
right, because they,
Only
because they feel they're a totally separate society,
Yeah.
right? And that we don't need that kind of stuff, right? In some, in Hasidic schools, they don't teach English well for boys. Girls, they teach okay, but for boys, don't teach English well. In the Litvish schools, like in Lakewood or more Litvish schools, they teach English fine and they teach math and stuff like that. But yeah, in the Hasidic schools, they don't really.
Issue with the Haredi in Israel.
Right, that's a different story too, but like.
But their
yeah.
goal is to study Torah and to
Yeah.
increase the knowledge of God
Yeah, but,
and not to fight.
right, because that's non-Jewish.
It's not Jewish.
Yeah, that's what they would say.
And in
That's your excuse.
Yeah.
in the mid-20th century, when
Yeah.
Jews started getting into colleges,
Yeah.
there was a big controversy about med students. Would they be allowed to do autopsies?
Right, yeah.
Because that's against Jewish law. And there were a lot of people that didn't become doctors.
It's against Jewish law to do an autopsy on a Jew.
That's what they came up with.
Yeah.
But you're not supposed to desecrate
Yeah.
a body.
Yeah.
And it was
It's a big issue in
It was a
it's
very
big,
big
it's a
issue.
big issue in Israel. How do you have a med school in Israel? Jews, in Jewish law, you can't donate your body to science. Right? And so we're using Gentile bodies, and so I would say, enlightened Orthodox rabbis who care about non-Jews are saying, well, that's not actually fair. Like if we're creating a Jewish society that's based on universal values also, and we need doctors, right? So the Haredim would say, obviously, you shouldn't be a doctor, right? Let Gentiles be a doctor or something like that. But like, no, it's a real issue, something, so, okay.
It's disturbing. That's
That's what I'm saying. If you take these ideas, living by Torah, can you sing a Greek song? That's what we're asking.
We would get upset when the Nazis did experiments on Jewish bodies,
Mhm.
right? Because how horrible that is, but we can kind of in a way do the flip.
Right, but it's only a question now that we Jews are running a society. It was never a question before because we weren't in charge. Right?
It's the Germans performed those experiments on live bodies.
I understand.
But now,
I'm not saying like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you can't, it's a desecration of a Jewish body to do an autopsy
Yeah.
on a Jewish person. It is not a desecration on somebody who's not Jewish.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
disturbing.
Yeah.
People saw the exhibits, the bodies.
Yeah, all my uncles. Yeah, I had
No,
a
I
big
can't.
remember that. Yeah, that was like,
It was a big
20
thing.
years ago, it was a big thing. I had an argument with my uncle about it. And he's like, it's a desecration. And I'm like, well, and technically in Jewish law, if they're not Jews, but he's like,
They were
but-
all Chinese prisoners.
yeah, right. Well, that was the thing
But
too.
yeah, but again, to your point about it being universal, if you're not allowed to autopsy a Jew, why should you be allowed to autopsy a non-Jew?
Right, so that's the real question. And then in Israel, you say, well, then we can't have med schools. Because today a med school, you need to do autopsies, right? Now, will that always be the case? I don't know. But like, yeah, so when Jews are now the rabbis were not in charge anymore of a society, of all of society. Only there are small pockets of society, or they even believe, maybe they weren't even in charge of their own pockets of
But then
society.
here comes AI and then you can do that virtually.
Yeah, maybe.
Right.
So,
Well, somebody has to
that
teach
works.
it.
one more minute, then we'll, yes, Karen, last words.
So that,
Make it a good one.
So, I'll have last one.
I mean, this may just be way out there. I always thought that religion provided absolute guidelines for how one should live. And what I'm becoming more and more disturbed about is there don't seem to be. I mean, if we are in relationship with God, if we can convince God to choose his or her mind,
Yeah.
if the Torah is endlessly open for interpretation.
Not endlessly, right?
Well,
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
there are many ways to interpret and
Yeah.
apply.
Yeah.
I mean, what are the absolutes? I mean, when we raised our children, we thought there were certain things that you just didn't
So
do.
what are the certain absolutes that you're talking? Because like,
Not to lie, and you have.
oh, not to lie. So Kant says you should never lie, right? Kant, the German philosopher. And he said, so much so, this is the example he gave, someone comes to your friend is in your house, this person said, I'm gonna murder your friend. Is he here? And Kant says, you're not supposed to lie. Let him kill the guy. And so, are you not supposed to lie? Jews would say, yeah, of course you're supposed to lie then. Right?
They got me.
So you can think like what is absolute? What is absolute?
You listed those three things,
Yeah,
but
murder, incest,
but wait,
idolatry.
we could have a whole other session about
What
what
is-
exactly that means.
Yeah, 100%.
So
100%. Absolutes cause totalitarianism. And so, okay, so what does Torah mean? Asking this question. And what does it mean also to be a Jew with boundaries about Jew, non-Jew, right? Where we just ended with Acher saying Greek songs, and that was bad. What does that mean? Yeah,
So
okay.
if you don't believe in absolute truth,
I don't know.
then
Yes.
you can't believe in God.
Ah, good. But even God, but we're saying here, even God, the rabbis are telling the stories that God changes. So is there something that is totally static?
I think some of the things you named, not to commit murder is static.
Right?
During war.
Ah,
exactly.
but war is an exception, war is not murder in Jewish law.
It's killing.
It's killing. The Ten Commandments say don't kill, it says don't murder. So we have to define what murder is.
What about assisted suicide?
Assisted suicide is like no in Jewish law. You're allowed to allow someone to die by stopping treatment at a certain point. But in Jewish law, as interpreted now, but like things are changing because Canada and
Yeah.
Switzerland and places like that, or might be changing. The doctor can't do the thing that kills you. You can withhold the thing that allowed someone to die, but you can't do the thing that kills someone.
But I think, I've always thought that I've been accused of being atheistic, but I do believe in certain absolute.
Where do your absolutes come from?
Yeah. But so that if you believe in an absolute, then I think you're not an atheist.
Yeah. See, that's the argument here too. Yeah. Okay, good. To be continued in 2 weeks.